Sherre, you got another article for us?
Yes, I do. And I love this article because it follows up in what I believe is a better way to delegate and understand that shiny object that we were talking about last week. And it's also from Inc., and it's called, it's a pet project, but you have to know when to kill it, okay? And I think the thing that I loved about this article was the fact that there are a couple of things. One, it said to separate projects from the people, and so that the people understand that they have ownership in it, but they're not going to be judged if it is determined that, we're not going to go on with this because the people have actually helped find the red flags. They found, reasons why maybe it can't make it to that finish line. And the article that I disagreed with last week was saying, don't delegate because it disempowers. And I totally disagreed with that.
Well, I'll tell you, I looked at this article, and my view of this, because this is what I do, right? Mm-hmm. I'm always starting something else, right? And for me, I start this concept by trying to find a way for this thing to fail, right? So I'm moving forward with reasons why this may not work. And that's kind of how I approach this. I'm curious to know your thought on that. For example, I might hand an idea to a couple of people and say, listen, tell me why this won't work.
Oh, and absolutely.
Because I'm moving forward unless you can tell me a reason why, right? And so that's kind of the way I approach most of these type of new project-related things.
And I agree, because a lot of times when you look at why it won't work, you actually morph it in some cases, to something that's better than you initially thought of, that is actually going to be more effective, or you come up with an even better idea and scratch it because of what you've determined isn't working. And it's like, wait, I've got an even better idea. Or better yet, the employee or the team member has an even better idea that they throw back at you.
Yeah, and what I do like about this article is it makes it clear that you're separating the person from the project. Mm-hmm. I mean, listen, if you're going to measure me by every bad idea I've ever had, I mean, goodness gracious.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of guy that gets up in the morning and I tell people all the time, I probably have 10 ideas a day,
Right.
Well, one a month might be worth spending any time on, right? So I don't want to be measured on all those bad ideas.
Well, what was it Alice in Wonderland said? I eat impossible for lunch or for breakfast or something like that. I can relate.
And so it's important that's clear. I find that interesting. I don't know how you could get anybody to be creative if they're going to be branded with a bad idea. Right.
And I think, too, understanding, I also love the fact that they said get the bean counters involved. And
I actually didn't understand that. What do they mean by that?
It actually goes back to what I was talking about earlier with the restaurant that wanted to open the second location. It took the bean counters to look at the whole financial feasibility to say, let's put our energies here instead of there. So, and again, you can't just have all creative, people. You got to have that analytical person to dig a little deeper into why might this fail?
Okay. Let's go through these one by one because they've got these broken up. Let's make sure that we're getting this. So the first one is define the finish line.
And I do think that's important. If you just throw an idea out there, and this might be part of your problem, Joe.
one of many, yes.
Is defining, okay, you have this idea. So what is that vision you see this idea accomplishing? I'm all about what is the ultimate purpose? What is the ultimate outcome that would result if this idea should fly? Okay. And that gives somebody, the others that you might delegate this to, something to wrap their head around, or to say, like a deer with the headlights, I don't get it.
And it also allows me to prioritize, because even if the best outcome is not that big of a deal, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I mean, I might continue to work on it, but if it's not going to change the world.
It's funny. I had a situation where there was something I was seeing done in a particular industry to the point where I actually bought domains because I thought I might want to pursue that particular idea and build a business around it. And then I realized I wasn't passionate about it. I was just pissed. And there's a difference. And so it wasn't worth my time. When I really saw my ultimate vision,
Right.
I go, let somebody else deal with this. I'll shift how I need to shift to sidestep this issue and build something strong in spite of it. But there's a big difference. Yeah. You have to
Define the finish line.
yeah.
Next one is encourage red flags.
And we talked about that just a minute ago. We talked about get people to identify what could be wrong with it, what is missing, what is not being considered and thought of.
Yeah, and in my case with this one, I'll let people know, listen, if we don't see a revenue number of X, or if, the amount of people interested isn't, AABC, let's move on, because the idea might be fine, but it just isn't enough that I want us to spend time on that. So for me, a red flag is sort of, if we can't get to these benchmarks, it's probably not worth my energy. Next one, invite the uninvested.
Now, I think that's a great idea. That's a perfect example of where an advisory board, not necessarily a board of directors that has vested interests, but an advisory team or advisory board is good, because they can, again, they might see red flags that, because they're looking at it at a more visionary, that finish line aspect than the employee or the team members that are working on it.
And this goes for whether you want to start a new business, start a new product, start a new service, or just sort of tweak something that you're already doing, right?
Exactly.
So this can work in a lot of different areas.
Oh, it sure can. This is great advice regardless, I think.
And then we talked about this already, talk to the Bing counters. So I guess I do that more often. I just didn't understand what they were talking about here. But I certainly run numbers. Yeah,
you definitely do. You definitely do. And walk on the sunny side. I thought that was, I'm the eternal optimist. But you have, you walk on the sunny side. You look at all the positives. But if you ignore, again, you still have to have all those considerations. And part of the reason what I want to emphasize on the sunny side here that's not mentioned here is in any kind of strategy, and you have things you need to consider and challenges, part of walking on the sunny side, and banks love this if you're looking to get a loan, is to say, okay, here's how I'm countering this. Here are the positive things my company's doing, so this challenge is lessened, or this aspect of the industry or my business that I need to consider is going to be overcome. So that to me is also looking at the sunny side. Is okay, what are you going to do about it, right?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. And then separate projects from people. We talked about that.
We talked about that, so that the people don't feel like they have failed because it doesn't fly.
I read that and I wonder if I've done that in my career in the past. I would find that hard to believe if I've done that. That just seems like it'd be something hard to do. I guess it happens often.
Well, I think especially you have to think about the mentality of the person with the idea. And if the person with the idea is handing it off, but in their mind it's gonna succeed, and then they hand it off to somebody who says, no, this isn't going to succeed, they may look at that person as not having done a good enough job instead of accepting.
Oh, okay. You didn't review this well or research it well.
Because, and basically it was like, make this idea work. Be a yes person. Make this idea work.
Gotcha.
Versus really see if this is a viable idea.
Okay.
Right?
And then the last one I just absolutely love, prevent future zombies. But what it's saying is, listen, if you decide it doesn't work, let's figure out why not. Let's take a good look at that.
Right.
That to me is as important as getting started to begin with.
Well, and again, I think the power in that is sometimes with the why not, you figure out something that's even better, or you figure out something that nobody else thought of.